All right, Shalom. I want to start off by giving all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai Bashem Rachak double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well, and honor and salutations to those of you who are of the hopeful elect and are out there teaching the word in sincerity and truth. All right, so I wanted to talk about this topic here in regards to the Israelite foreigners and what the sentiment was at that time. I always think about this topic, and this was one of my favorite topics to get into. And I was feeling like I had done this before, but um, I just wanted to get into it again. Um, I know that there's a couple of different things going on that are in current events, especially today. You had these Trump supporters, so-called, these um, I guess they had a rally or a protest or what have you, broke up into the Capitol building, and I guess had their way. But that's that'll definitely be talked about. But this was on my mind, so I wanted to put it out there. So again, this is one of my favorite topics to go into. Um, it seems obvious, right? When we talk about it, especially if we're debating with somebody that happens to be a spectator at camp. But I always ask myself, do they get it, but are being rebellious, or does the Lord really not opening it up to them? Because for us, it seems so obvious, right? But when you have this conversation, the first thing that comes up is the scripture here. I don't know if it says nor or no, it says true. There it is. Galatians 3:28 says, "There is neither Jew nor Greek, there is neither bond nor free, there is neither male nor female, for ye are all one in Hamashiach Yahushua." And this is the scripture that they go to say that all people can be saved, that all people can be delivered, that the grace of Yahweh Bashem Yahushai, excuse me, is on all people. But that's not the case. And to understand that that's not the case, you have to get into a little bit of history, right? I'm no history buff. I like to think I am, but I'm not nearly as thorough as some of the other brothers are when it comes to history. But um, you have to get into a little bit of history to understand um, what was going on, right? So I want to talk a little bit about it. I forgot to bring this up. Now this is coming to me. I'll go to it. So contrary to belief, not all Israelites or all people that were calling themselves Jews in this time were, let me say, um, in the Commonwealth of Israel, right? Meaning, from the borders of, um, what's this, Tyre and Zidon. And I say that to say, from the west of the western border of Israel to you get, I don't even know um, what's on the west off the top of my head, but I'm trying to be a little fancy here. But contrary to belief, not all people that were calling themselves Israelites in that time dwelled uh, in that land. And when I say that land, meaning the land that was given to our forefathers when we had come out of the wilderness into the land of Israel. Um, and they left for a litany of reasons, right? Some due to being carried away in captivity, which, matter of fact, since I'm thinking about it, I think, bear with me for a second. Bear with me just for 1 second. Uh, bear with me for a second here. Slovakia. Bear with me for a second. I'm just looking for a scripture here. These ones are coming to me now, which happens, right? Slovakia. Bear with me for a second here. I can't remember exactly where that one is, but I'll Lord's will, it'll come to me where exactly it is. And then when I find it, then I'll be able to bring it out. But to make the point, there were a litany of different reasons why the children of Israel left the land. It was either from captivity. It was due to persecution in the city. Um, Even though some people were free, right? They decided to stay in the land that they were brought to serve captivity, which I'll show in just a second. But there are litany of different things and reasons why people may have left, right? So let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. This is this is First Maccabees 3. No, I'm sorry. 1. Slocky, I feel like I'm all over the place here, but bear with me, please. This is First Maccabees 1, and you know what? Let me jump right to it. I'll jump right to 35. So if you go into Maccabees, this first chapter, into this whole chapter, what you'll learn is that Antiochus laid a sore stroke on the land of Israel, and because of the treachery that he caused, right? And it speaks about some of it here. Some of the people say, you know what, forget this. I'm out of here, man. I don't want to, be here and um, watch the land be defiled, and one, put my family in danger because of the sore stroke of these Greeks, right? So it says here, I'll start at 35. It says, they stored it also with armor and victuals, and when they had gathered together the spoils of Jerusalem, they laid them up there, and so they became a sore snare, right? It says, for it was a place to lie in wait against the sanctuary and an evil adversary to Israel. Thus they shed innocent blood on every side of the sanctuary and defiled it, insomuch that the inhabitants of Jerusalem fled because of them. Whereupon the city was made an habitation of strangers, and became strange to those that were born in her, and her own children left her. Right, and that's an important point, man, because um, you have to understand the series of events, right? Now, the Lord allowed this to happen because, of our transgressions, right? Because of our transgressions, He allowed another nation to come upon us. And when that nation came upon us, right, they either, again, put us in captivity or, as in this case here, made the persecution so bad that we left on our own. All right. But where did they go? Right? Where did these people go? Right? So if you go to, I want to go here to Acts, the second chapter. Now, Acts, the second chapter, will tell you some of the places where our people had went, right? So when you go to start at 5, right? And we always harp on this scripture, this verse, because it's telling you who these people were, right? It's telling you exactly what type of people these were that were here to celebrate, in this case, Pentecost, right? So this Acts 2 and 5, it says, and there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, right? So, matter of fact, go on here for a second. It says Jewish belonging to the Jewish nation, Jewish as respects to birth, origin, and religion, right? So these people that were dwelling here, the ones that were being talked to, right? They were Jews, right? It says devout men out of every nation under heaven, right? So that means there were Jews in every nation. No matter where you went in the world, you would have Jews. Matter of fact, what is that? Let's do this. Since uh, yeah, boom. Check this out. This is in Esther, right? Let me go up in there just in case there's some more I want to read. Esther 9 and 30, right? Um, let's start at 29. It says, then Esther the queen, the daughter of Abihail, and Mordecai the Jew wrote with all authority to confirm this second letter of Purim. And he sent the letters unto all the Jews to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of Ahasuerus with words of peace and truth. Right? So there was 127 provinces that Ahasuerus ruled in. And if you get into I don't know, I can't remember if it's in the Apocrypha or if it's in Esther in the Bible. But when you get into it, it'll tell you from India to Ethiopia, right? So if you look at a map, let's do this. Oh, shit. Right, if you look at a map and you pull it up, images, right? Maybe I should just let me try to zoom in, right? So if you look at this, right, it said from India to Ethiopia, right? So all this land right here, right, and all this land in the time of Ahasuerus were 127 provinces, right? And in those 127 provinces dwelt all types of people of Jewish descent, right? Of Israelite descent, I should say, right? So when those letters went out from Esther and from Mordecai, these are all the places where they went, man. All these places, right? All these provinces that were in these areas, right? So again, where was I? When you go back to Acts, when it says out of every nation under heaven, that's starting to give you an idea of where those places were, right? And these are places where our people dwelt, right? So it says, now when this was noised abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, right? Salakia. And were confounded because that every man heard them speak in his own language, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one to another, Behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? Right? So, because they were surprised, right? There was a wonder, like how are these people that are Galileans speaking in our tongue, right? Speaking the native tongue of the places where we came up, where we were born, right? Salakia. Salakia. And how hear we every man in our own tongue wherein we were born, right? So then it starts to get into some of these places uh, where where our people were, right? So it says Parthians, Medes, Elamites, and the dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia, Pontus and Asia, Phrygia, Pamphylia and Egypt, and all the parts of Libya about Cyrene, and strangers of Rome, Jews and proselytes, right? Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our tongue the wonderful works of the Most High, right? So what I did was I started looking up some of these places, right? So you got where did I see it? You had let's go to this other window I got opened up over here, right? So if you go to the Persian Empire, um, what you'll start to see is some of these places, right? You got uh Babylon. No, this is not the map I had. Where is it? This is not the map I had. But let's do this. Let's do this. This is not the map I had. I don't know where it went. Right. So boom. So let's look at some of those. So some of those places again. Uh, Parthians, Medes, Elamites, Mesopotamia, Cappadocia. Right. So I got here. Let's look at Cappadocia. Right. Where is Cappadocia? Right here. Right. And what is known as Turkey today. Right. Let's see what else we got here. Pontus, right? Another place in modern day Turkey, right? Um, there was another map that I had. I'm really disappointed about. Here's Elimas, which it kind of led me to this Elimas based on where it says Elamites. So they were saying that they were from this place, from Elimas, right? You got media here, right? This is the Parthian Empire, so right when it says Parthians and Medes, so which is very important, right? I don't know where that map went that I had earlier. Saying gotta do what you gotta do too, right? So Elam, right, or Elimas, right? So our people were dwelling in all these lands, right? Arabians, it said also, right? Our people were dwelling in all these lands. Now, why that's important is because again, like I said, you had some of us that left due to captivity, but some of us stayed in the lands where we were led captive. So we already talked about the 127 provinces. So they were already there um, for many years, right? But I wanted to show something that I seen on this side over here, um, right here. This article here. So this is the Babylonian exile. What did I have? Yeah, return to Zion, right? So I was digging around and I clicked on this. I can't remember what I typed in Google, but I was clicking around and I found this piece that speaks to this. So it says the return to Zion, right? It says according to the books of Ezra through Nehemiah, a number of decades later in 538 BCE, the Jews in Babylon were allowed to return to the land of Israel due to Cyrus's decree. Initially, around 50,000 Jews made uh, aliyah or aliyah, which basically means like to return. I think I had it pulled up. I, I did have it pulled. Let's look at it so I can just show you. This is just basically to say like like a return from exile, but let me just look it up real quick. Oops. Is immigration, yep, of Jews from diaspora to the land of Israel historically, which today includes the modern state of Israel, right? So keep in mind that diaspora. I'm going to go back to that in just a second. So it says 50,000 Jews made aliyah to the land of Israel following the decree of Cyrus, as described in Ezra, whereas most remained in Babylon. You see? So let's go to, that's why I had this pulled up. The Persian Empire, right? Which was Babylon, right? This is where our people were in all of these lands, right? Modern day India to where it says Ethiopia. Our people were in all of these lands, man. And when you go into Paul's mission, right? We were up in here in Thrace and all of these different places in Greece and Macedon. All of these places our people were. Let me see what this one looks a little bit better. Maybe not. It's too small. Clear up. See what this one got on here. Right. So I forget what was it? Was it right? So this is it right here. I was getting ready to talk about this. So when you go into what scripture is this? When you go into Ezra, yep, 6:2, it says that this is the city where they found the scroll um, that was going to allow us to go back, right? So it was from Cyrus, right? So when you go to where was I at? Right here. This is Ecbatana, right? This city here. When you read it in Ezra 6:2, Akmitha, right? So that's what you see here, right? So this is where he was. So he wrote it here, and they found it here because our people were in these lands, man. Right? Let's see if we can pull up some of these names in here. Right? Modern day India, right? Our people were in all of these lands, all of these provinces here, right? Um, None of these names are jumping out at me. Medes, Parthians, right? It says Parthians, it says Medes, right? Paphlagonia, which is what was this one? Salakia. Bear with me for a second here. I'm all over the place, but as a capital, no, it's Pontus, right? Up here, right? So our people were in all of these lands, man. You can look these things up too, and I feel like I'm all over the place, but our people were in all of these lands, right? So now when you go to this word Aliyah again, just let me go back to it, and this here. When you go back to this word Aliyah, you get the word diaspora, right? So let's go to um, let's go here, right? So this is diaspora, right? Or diaspora. It says is a scattered population whose origin lies in a separate geographic locale. Historically, the word diaspora was used to refer to the mass dispersion of a population from its indigenous territories, specifically the dispersion of Jews. While the term was originally used to describe the forced displacement of certain peoples, diasporas, is now generally used to describe those who identify with a homeland but live outside of it, right? Right. So now, if you go to James 1:1, right, it says James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushai to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greeting, right? So when you go in here, right, when you look for the word scattered abroad, look what word you have there, diaspora, right? So it says a scattering, dispersion of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations, of the Christians scattered abroad among the Gentiles, which they write this to denote a difference, but this is saying the same thing. Just A here in the definition is more specific to who was being talked about. Christians and its I guess vagueness can include anyone, right? So this is why they do these types of things. But this is more specific of Israelites dispersed among foreign nations, right? Because James writing this, right, and he wouldn't have said Christian, right, in these times. He said exactly who he was talking to. He said to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, right? So when you go into that word diaspora, right, it means Israelites who were scattered throughout all the known world at the time, right? So I was getting ready to go into another piece of this, but I didn't realize I had been going for this long. Forgive me if I'm all over the place. But to drive the point that I'm making here in this part, that our people didn't just live in Israel, right? And that's the common belief, right? That's the popular belief that all Israelites lived in the land of Israel, right? So when it comes to matters of scriptures like Galatians 3 and 28, you think that it's talking about the people that live in Israel and then the people that don't, right? But what people don't understand is that our people were everywhere, man. In some cases, like you see in the case of our captivity under the Persians, Cyrus and Darius and so forth, we stayed in those lands, man. We stayed in those lands. And who did Darius take it from? He took it from Artaxerxes, which is which you could read about in Esther, who what had 127 provinces where our people dwelt, man. I'll say this way, it is historically irresponsible to think that Israelites only were in one place, right? Because when you go into the prophecy, right? When you go to what is it? I think it's Isaiah 11:11. It says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea." Right? So our people are going to be everywhere, man. That's what the prophecy said would happen. So when you talk about redeem, when you talk about reconcile, these are the people that they're talking about, that the scriptures are talking about. Okay, so I'm gonna do a part two to this, because I just was supposed to be a setup. I didn't want to do a whole hour, but this is a setup to say what was being talked about in Acts, what was being talked about in the so-called New Testament, right? Why were the Jews so displeased with who they were calling Gentiles, right? Which we know as the Israelite foreigners. Why were they upset with them? What were they angry about? So Lord's will, I'll be able to get to the second part tomorrow. But for now, I'm gonna stop here and give all praises to Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai Bashem Dash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone who rule well. Honor and salutations to the hopeful elect. With that, I say shalom.